Okay. Short, sweet, and to the point. 8 questions. Sometimes things can be straight and to the point here. So we looked at new cars, used cars, leases, rentals, and so we're just getting a couple of general things in here with each one. Again, I'm not going to specifically reference back to what parts within the packet they are, because I know all this stuff. But again, if you are needing some assistance, we'll find that for you, because there's exact examples of these in there. So Paul here is shopping for a Tesla. Well, good for him. With a base price of $34,675, he wants to add some options. The destination charge, again, that shipping fee on your car if it's new. What's the sticker price? Simply stated, add them up. So literally, I'm just going to take... Whoa, I'm not going to do that, though. Okay. We're just going to take all the numbers we see, the custom paint job, the GPS, and again, as we mention it, what we're going to tend to look at with these is basically they have to put everything out there for you. They can't have like, aha, surprise, you know, we're going to charge you this for this now or something like that. Everything that is base expense on the car has to be on the car. So, otherwise, pretty straightforward. Now, number 2, we're going to get a little deeper into some things. Donnie is shopping for a Range Rover that has a base price of $62,987. Now we got options. Now we got a destination charge. But we're going to talk here about what the dealer pays and how this works. So, first question is, what's the dealer's cost? So, to figure that out, you're going to need to take the base price, and you're going to need to find the percentage that the dealer pays. So, I'm not going to calculate right away. We're just going to set this up. So I get that in there. Notice I didn't include the destination charge. I didn't include the options because that's something separate. So when I get here, I look and I go, okay, let's see here. We got some options. So we'd also owe $2,870. Well, we would know, but the dealer would be paying 75% of that. And then the dealer should not be making money off of the destination charge. That's just shipping that they're going to pass on to you, but it shouldn't be a profit-bearing area. So 3 things: the base, the options, and any destination cost. And then we're just going to let the calculator do its thing. So I get my dealer price. I'm just making sure I typed everything in right. It did. Okay. But there's one more question. So now, what would be a good offer? I've got to remember, okay, there's what the dealer paid. That's not what I'm paying. Okay? The sticker price on this would me be taking all the numbers that are here and paying full price, because that's what's going to be on the sticker. So the sticker is $66,856. The dealer paid $56,690. So, I mean, there's not a perfect answer to this, but what would you say if you saw that much of a difference? What a reasonable offer for that vehicle might be? You could try 60. That might not be a bad area to start. This might turn into one of those 60. Oh, I'll go 65. Well, let's go 62 and split the difference. But it's always a good idea whenever you're in negotiations to start a little low. Not like, hey, I know your price is $56,690. I'll give you $57. I wouldn't start there because then they're probably going to tell you, okay, we'll go down to $66,850, and that's going to get a little tenuous. So if you're reasonable, 60-ish, it's a good starting place. And for sure, you never know. They may be having a day where they're stressed out and they just take it. So we'll see. But again, if there's a question similar tomorrow, read the whole thing and don't leave me hanging. So good start there. Okay, what do we got here next? Renee is shopping for a used car that has an average retail value, so again, we're used now, of $92,355. Also has a sunroof valued at $320. So that has to get added on. The vehicle has been driven 78,940 miles. The used vehicle guide indicates that 1770 should be deducted for the mileage. What's the average retail price she should keep in mind when making her offer? So, okay. There's the retail value. There's the extra add-on. Again, not included in the price. But because of the mileage, it must be a little over what it should be. That $1,770 should be deducted for mileage. So, just kind of a side note here. So, if some of you have wondered before, what makes a difference and if the mileage subtracts, even adds some time to the cost of a car? Most people assume you're going to drive 10 to 12,000 miles in a year. So maybe this car is only like 5 years old and should only have about 50 to 60,000 miles on it, but maybe it's been driven for business. Maybe it was a rental car that people drove a lot. And so it's got more miles on it than would be normal. So that's why you would have a deduction. If it was a granny car, and it was supposed to have 50,000 miles on it, but it only had 25,000, that may add a little bit to it. So kind of keep those things in mind and be aware of some of that. But that, again, the math's not hard. It's just figuring out what goes where. Okay. This is the one where we're probably going to have the most complexity. Jerry has a driver rating of 3.9. He's charged $304.55 for liability, $73 for comprehensive, and $271 for collision insurance. What is his annual base premium? Base premium is just adding the numbers together. Do not mess with the rating factor. Would help, though, if I was actually on the screen when I'm adding. Okay. So my base is $648.55. But that's not what Jerry's going to be paying. The actual premium takes the driver rating factor into consideration. So we're going to multiply that base times the driver rating. Hello. I like the base number better. This is what Jerry is actually going to be paying. Oofda. Need to get that driver rating factor down so it doesn't cost quite as much. But again, nothing too terrible to be dealing with. All right. Chelsea. Tracked your spending on fixed and variable costs last year. And so here we go. Let's read through before I start adding things here. So 37, 75, 25 on gas, 110 on oil, 428, 36 on maintenance. Fixed costs included 1250 on insurance, 111.30 on license and registration, and depreciation of 700. Calculate her total variable. Here's variable. Keep it simple. So we're just going to add the variables up. This is going to lead to something more in the next one. So we'll take the ease while we can get it. So variable is 43,1361, and our fixed costs is my insurance, my license and registration, and the depreciation. That almost, I'm not going to say it's a variable cost because it's not, but it almost could be based on how much driving you're doing. I'm just making sure I get everything in there. Oh, no. Nope. 111.30 Hardy, not 11.30. I wish it were 11.30. That'd be cool. All right, so scratch that. So I get my different costs. So again, if Chelsea wanted to have an idea now with her car on how much it's costing her per year, which is something we'll discuss in the personal finance portion, she'd add these up and divide it by 12 to get a monthly. And again, this isn't including if we don't know if she owns the car or is paying for it. If she owns it, that covers her. If you're paying for it still, if you're making payments, you'd have to add whatever it is to this. That's going to get kind of pricey. Chelsea's car could get near like $1,000 a month, which is insanity. So this is why we do the budgeting, and that's why that's going to get wrapped up last here. Okay, Joe leased a Nissan Murano. He pays $299 per month for 36 months. His deposit was $2,400. He paid a $97 title fee and a $50/50 license fee. Holy cow! What is his total lease cost? Okay, $299 for 36 months. People see that on the commercial and think that's it. It's not. And $2,400 up front. And $97 up front. And $50/50 up front. But I get free oil changes. Okay. So here's my thing. So I know it's not asking me this, because that's the answer, but let me, just for a second on a side note again. So this was for 36 months. Okay, so here's my thing. Joe is paying about $370 a month to lease this Murano. Now here's the thing. So at the end of 36 months, when Joe goes in, what does he have to show for his $13,311? Nothing. Like literally, he hands it off and he has two choices. You go and you jump into a lease again, or you go buy something else or something like that. So again, when you're looking at cars, you've got to think, even if you bought new with depreciation, would it be better? Because the car company now already has $13,000 in their pocket on this car. They get the car back and can turn around now and sell it to somebody else. So again, that's why sometimes leases is called leasing, because they're kind of getting one over sometimes on you. You can get a decent deal on a lease depending on how rough you are with cars and how much you drive. But again, that's a lot to pay to have nothing at the end. Just something to consider. Okay, back to regular scheduled programming. JC Drove his truck 19,777 miles last year. Variable costs, $31.23 on gas, $180 on oil changes, $9.28 on maintenance. And then we got fixed costs. You're like, I've seen this before. Find the total cost. Okay. So let's see. We got gas for $31.23. We got oil changes. We got maintenance. And we got insurance. This is life, people. It's just all the things. They just keep adding up. 150.59 on license. Now, yes, depreciation, even though it's not coming out of his pocket directly, is a cost. Because if he went to sell the vehicle, it's going to be worth that much less. So, let me get my seating chart out of the way here. But you do note, the mathematics of this itself is not hard. I mean, we're doing adding, subtracting, and occasionally a little multiplying. But people don't think about this stuff. They get so busy with everyday life stuff and watching cat videos on YouTube that people do those things. I mean, it can be a different thing, but some of the silliness is still just as silly. So that's his total cost to run this car. But like we said before, depending on your job, if it's a company truck, we're definitely going to want to know the cost per mile. Even if it's a personal vehicle, there are instances that you can write it off as a business expense. But it's not just as easy as I was driving to work, I was driving home. Not bad. But if you drive to work and then your boss asks you to go pick up something or go do that where you're physically using it during your work day, that can be written off. There's actually apps that do that too. So I take my total cost. There's my first answer. We're going to divide it by the number of miles we drove. So no other math here except a little division. Looks like about 44 cents if we round off here. And as we found out yesterday, federal is up to 60 cents a mile. So if this is on business, we're actually making a little on the side. So that would not be terrible by any means. But again, nothing bad. Just kind of working things through. And finally, and then you get to have Hardy talk about a couple things here before we get done. So Michelle rented a car for 15 days at $34.99 per day plus 12 cents per mile. Oh, Michelle. She, because Hardy doesn't know how to properly type, there we go, purchased the optional insurance for $12 per day. Oh my gosh. She, not say, no, drove 1,125 miles and paid $191.93 for gasoline. What was the total cost of running the car? Holy cow. Okay, let's take this in pieces. 15 days, $34.99 a day. Then 12 cents per mile, and she drove 1,125 miles. I'm going to run out of colors. We paid $12 per day for insurance. Mercy. And finally, we had to pay for gas. It's the only thing I don't have to multiply by. And you could put each of those individually in the calculator and just add them at the end. But if you're going to do it the way I am, you need to put the parentheses in if you're not going to do them individually. I just said, Hardy, put in the parentheses. Otherwise, if you do each one on their own, you'll be okay there too. Oofda. Mercy. A 2-week car rental, $1,031. That wouldn't be actually too far off. So again, tomorrow, eerily similar car quiz. However, as I